You're listening to Lore Friendly with Kris Takahashi and
Hi
Alice.
guys, I'm alive again.
Yes. Last week you had like internet issues, I believe, right?
I had internet issues, and then when it came around to Tuesday, which is when we rescheduled for recording, I was just not in a good way.
No,
Not in a good
that
way.
happens.
I've kind of been thrown out of my routine recently.
You needed a day or 2 or 3.
And
But it's all sorted, right? No.
is my life ever sorted, Kris?
No, it's probably not.
No.
That was probably not a good thing to say.
No, you're just sending me back into that pit of existential despair. So that was Lore Friendly, guys. Join us next week when I'm still wallowing in my sadness.
You should be like me and just give up.
Way ahead of you, man. Way ahead of you.
Life is much simpler when you just sit around and do nothing and just watch other people have their lives. Speaking of which, how has life been going? How are things in the Sherwood Forest?
So, pretty much all of the UK has been at a standstill because of the Beast from the East, which is a big snowstorm. It's actually called Emma instead of the Beast from the East, but the Beast of the East sounds cooler.
Why is it called Emma?
It's just how they name storms. It's like they just go down a list, and apparently we're on E. We had a Doris a while back, but no, this was Storm Emma, and basically, she ended up shutting down the entire UK.
Yeah.
Because we're shit with extreme weather. Even vaguely extreme weather.
Yeah, see, that sounds like something the Beast from the East would do.
Yeah.
Emma sounds like someone who would just walk into your house and clean your carpets or something.
My sister's called Emma. So,
Oh, is she?
she's never cleaned my carpets for me.
But is she a good sibling? Is she a nice sister?
I mean, she buys me wine, so yeah.
I have a brother. He bought me a mouse pad the other day. That
Oh,
was
wow.
nice.
Living the dream.
The thing is, my old mouse pad was falling apart, so he got me this new one. There's one weird thing about it, and
Does it have boobs?
yes, well, not boobs. It looks like the wrist rest looks like it has balls on it. Like, look at this thing. It's called a Kensington Duo Mouse wrist rest. I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but
Oh. I mean, it could have been worse.
It looks like balls.
You can get ones that are actually just anime titties.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking of. But no,
Does it not look like...
It does.
It looks like a pair of balls, right? I'm resting my wrist on a pair of balls.
I mean, there's less comfortable places to be resting your wrist.
If it looked like a pair of boobs, okay, then, you know, that might be a little bit comfortable. Balls aren't comfortable at all.
I mean, I can't say that I tend to rest my arm on a pair of bollocks. It's not really my jam, you know?
No.
I'm more of a boob girl. I just rest my hands on my boobs and, you know.
Yeah. I'll just imagine these are a pair of boobs instead of a pair of balls, because I don't know why my mind went to balls
You can
first.
just
But they could look like
you can
boobs.
just Tipex or white out some nipples on them. And then there you go. You don't have to imagine anymore.
Yeah. Anyways, Emma.
Yeah, so she came about on Tuesday, I think she started really picking up. And I think we ended up having like a good 7 or 8 inches of Emma.
Are you talking about the storm or your sister? I'm just confused.
The storm. Cause we got onto here by you saying, oh, it's you just give up and sit around. And I'm segueing into a story about how sitting around has made me crazy, Kris. There's structure to this. There's method to this madness.
I'm sorry. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm not used to like the conversation, the talking to a live person.
Oh, it's so scary.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, so we had about 7 or 8 inches in Nottingham, I think. I just point blank refused to leave the house because it was ridiculous. I had to walk from town one day, and that was a barrel of laughs. And I nearly slipped over and died a couple of times. And yeah, it's been a rough couple of days. And so you couldn't really do anything. You couldn't get into uni. You couldn't get, You couldn't get anywhere. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't do any food shopping. Because going outside is a health hazard.
Is the storm the reason why there's a chicken shortage?
Actually, that was one of the harbingers.
Sure, why not?
Of the apocalypse. Because a couple of weeks ago, there was a massive chicken shortage because of KFC. They changed suppliers and they were having operational issues, and 800 KFCs in the UK had to shut down or operate limited menus. And it's like, what can you order from KFC that isn't chicken? Why would you go to KFC if they haven't got chicken? Obviously, their training virtual reality game has not scarred enough of their business, so they were just like, well, we're just gonna fuck up our chicken now, the only thing that we're good for. And yet I went past KFC when there was this big shortage, and it was filled to the brim. There was just loads of people sat in there, and I don't know what they were eating, because there was no fucking chicken. I'm done.
Do they not have a side menu, or do they not have
I
like?
think they do like gravy and chips.
Is it just?
But it's
just
Kentucky
gravy?
Fried Chicken. The best thing is though, that people ended up calling the police about the fact that KFC did not have a full menu. People were complaining and wasting the time of the actual emergency services.
Maybe that's why the stores were full. They were just full of EMTs, and people were probably fighting over the last piece of chicken, and someone got stabbed.
It was just, it was crazy, man. National news. So that was famine.
Ah, that's right.
And then Storm Emma. What are the other horsemen of the apocalypse?
I don't know. But is it technically famine if there's other food available? I mean, do you have to eat fried chicken? Okay.
1 second. We can cut this out. I'm just doing a bit of research so I can make this
To
fit
be
my
fair-
apocalypse narrative.
To be fair, if I was in the UK, I would probably eat at KFC because I wouldn't know what to order anywhere else. I'm one of those tourists who go like to a foreign country, but I don't want to try the local food, so I just end up going to fucking KFC or like Sbarro's and eat the shitty pizza there. I don't know.
Got it. Right, so we've got famine, pestilence, death, and war. So
Okay.
I don't know if anyone died from Storm Emma, but I'd say that she's death.
I'd say you had both the famine and the war because people were fighting in those over the KFC stuff.
Yeah. Some pretty violent
There
folks
was a
over
chicken
in
war.
England. So what we're waiting for now is pestilence. So the fatberg is going to mutate, and it's going to turn out to be containing some really nasty diseases. And because they're breaking it up to put it into a museum, it's going to corrupt the water supply. So there's pestilence. Hey ho, there we go.
Oh,
then-
you mean the fatberg?
Yeah.
I thought you said the fat burger. I was like, you have fat burger in the UK? I'm eating there. I'm not eating at KFC. I love fat burger.
See, it's what we do when all of our restaurants run out of, the actual foodstuffs. We just scrape off the grills and mush it together. It's called lard.
Yeah.
It's lard burgers. It's awful. Why would you do that to yourself? Oh my! I've made myself throw up a little bit in my mouth.
Okay, that sounds gross. But the actual fat burger, which we have in Southern California, is really good. There is even an Ice Cube song about it.
What does it involve?
No helicopter looking for the murder. 2 a.m, got the fat burger.
What does it involve?
It's just good burger.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be like bacon and.
Oh yeah, that's it. It's the egg, really. They add it like it's meat, bacon, and then you can add an egg to it, and that oddly sounds. I mean, you think of it as breakfast
That
food kind of,
sounds
but
so
it actually
basic.
works.
I was expecting something called the Fat Burger to just be like a mishmash of all different kinds of meats and fats and grease and chips.
No. It's not actually. Well, the chips, the fries are you can get fat fries or skinny fries, but it's the name of the restaurant. It's not a particular burger called a Fat Burger. Although I guess there is like a big one and a small one. But yeah, like I said, they made a song about it.
Should we try and invent a Fat Burger? A Fat Burger to surpass the branded Fat Burger. We can call it the Lard Burger. Alright, so
Sure,
what we need to do is, first things first, have you ever had fried bread?
Sure. You mean toast?
No, like fried bread that you fry in oil. It's
Why
the
would you do
best thing. Best thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to fry up the burger buns in oil. So you get this nice, crispy, greasy toast for your buns. And then we're going to have beef and cheese and bacon and a little bit of pork. And we're going to kill a fucking chicken on top of it. Because why not?
Why a chicken?
It's a fat burger.
That's right.
And then we'll put
Are we
some
going to have a
chicken on
training
there.
simulation
Yeah.
to teach people how to make it?
To teach people how to
gonna
bread
be
the chicken.
VR.
And the chicken's got to be deep fat fried. And then we add more cheese. And then we add... No, we're not adding mayonnaise.
Why don't we just get rid of the buns and just put donuts as our buns?
You say that like it's an innovative concept, Chris. We have those over here.
Then pour some gravy on it too. How about that?
We have those over here as well. Burgers covered in gravy. Now we've got a fried bread, the buns. This is the ultimate fat burger.
I want to throw up now.
This is the ultimate fat burger. It's going to be 1,000,000 calories. It's going to cause your arteries to explode. It's going to kill you.
But it's Fat Burger as in FATBERGER, right?
Yeah.
It's the Fat Burger.
In honor of
the Fat Burger.
In honor of the monster that lives in the London sewers.
Yes. Are there going to be diaper bits in this Fatberg and condoms?
Of course. What do you think I am? Some sort of heathen? Where do you think we're getting the mayonnaise from?
Can you... This is grossing me out. But the Fat Burger, yes. Excellent idea.
Oh, dude,
Ice Cube can make a song about that one, too.
Maybe when I ever get over to America, you can take me there. Got a cute little date.
Yeah, but it'll be gone out of business after we make our own chain of restaurants.
Yeah. With used condoms and fat.
Yeah. Well, think about it. We go on a date after we eat. The condom's right there. It's right in the meal.
Probably not very protective, but you know, you make do.
Oh, yeah. It's probably going to be worse for the person who wears it because that's where all the gross stuff is.
Well, I mean, Chris, I'm very sorry to have to break it to you, but I don't have those kind of pots.
No. Well, they have lady condoms too, right?
Yeah, they're not as common though. Seem like a bit of a pain, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just like...
I'm not making much of a pitch here, am I?
No.
I'm not offering you good internet, so...
Nah.
That's what I have to compete with.
Yeah. I mean, what more could
it's
the
a
last
losing
one...
proposition. Yes. Honestly, that would be a huge plus for me. That and a mouse pad that doesn't have a fucking scrotum on it. No.
Like I
If
said,
my brother
just
is listening,
tip exit. Just tip exit.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth. I really appreciate it. It's really comfortable. It's just, it looks like balls. Anyways, what else were we going to talk about this week besides the end of the world?
So we've covered KFC. We've covered Emma. You're branching out into a new game engine, aren't you, Chris?
Wait, are we going to talk about that already?
Yeah, we've covered...
Okay. Oh, sure. Okay. So, there's a reason why episode 3 of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines has not been edited yet, because I've kind of like spending all my time messing around with Unity. Like, before I tried messing around with Unreal Engine, for Unreal Engine, there's not very good assets. Like, the asset store is very, very thin. So if you can't program, you need to rely on other people, like, to make to do the programming for you and, like, sell you these, like, software, more or less, that sort of simulates the programming or does it for you. And the Unreal Engine doesn't have that. It's very, they have some assets available, but it's very thin. There's not much to offer. Unity has a very good asset store, but what Unity does is they charge you money to use the program. Like, it costs like $35 a month.
Yeah.
So in the past, I've never really wanted to try out Unity, but I actually learned they have a free version, a trial version. And so I started playing around with that, and yeah, it's really addictive. It is so much better than Unreal.
Are you having a lot of fun with it then?
Well, because the dialogue system, it lets you do everything you want. It lets you have trees. It lets you, like dialogue trees, not actual trees that you can buy this too. But you can have quest states, so you can make quests. It sort of adds everything for you without having to know any programming. It's anytime you make a game or you're trying to make a game or you're learning how to do it, there's like all these little things that you forget that you need. So I spent like 10 hours yesterday just trying to figure out how to save the game. Just trying to bring up a menu to save.
Couldn't you
saving.
just Google it?
That's not how it works. You have to program the save system into the game.
Oh.
You have to create a menu.
Couldn't you just Google a step-by-step?
Well, see, that's the thing. You can buy an asset that does it for you, or you could sort of figure out how to do it within the framework of the game. And then it took me like 10 hours just to figure out how to create the save system. And then it took me another 5 hours to figure out how to keep the camera from moving while you're in the menu. So there's all kinds of little things. Like, if you press escape, you go to the menu, right?
Yeah.
Like, the camera for the player controller was moving, so while I was trying to select the menu button, the screen would shake. So you have to figure out how to disable the camera and then enable it once the menu's done. And that took me like another 5 hours. So yeah.
Oh, baby.
There are aspects to it but it's fun when it's your own stuff, but there's like a lot of things that you take for granted when you're modding because all of that stuff is there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to be the worst game ever, but it's teaching me stuff and it's fun.
I'm glad. So when are you slating it for release?
I don't know. I mean, I literally just started this 3 days ago. So there's a lot that's missing. I mean, most of the NPCs in the game are inanimate objects. And because I don't know how to make NPCs that walk and talk
Kris
and
Life
move.
Simulator. Talk to inanimate objects because you can't talk to human beings.
Yes, it does feel like a bit like my life, yeah. Although I don't actually talk to my mouse pad.
Yet. Give it another couple of weeks.
It's a little bit uncomfortable because my mouse pad is naked, so.
Yeah, wait until you draw some titties on it.
So I've also been using... it's not that kind of game, by the way. There's no sex in it. No violence. So Alice, you won't be buying it, but...
Damn it. No vampires?
It's basically... Not yet. I could add some.
Make a vampire rock.
I haven't figured out how to tie the day-night cycle, because I've made it, 24-hour day-night.
Yeah.
But I haven't figured out how to tie that to the dialogue system, so I haven't figured out how to make those two speak to each other. But point is, it's making a game just for the purpose of learning the system. It's not really a game that will actually anyone would want to play. Yeah. There's a bit of like a Frankensteinian nature to it because all the NPCs are like the free assets I found. So the first free asset I found was a tiger. So there's a tiger. Then there's a butterfly because there's a free butterfly asset. So
you say this is
there's a blacksmith cottage.
But like,
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff on Steam that is basically just that. So I reckon, so long as it's not horrendous, and by horrendous I mean incredibly lazily done, I reckon you could make a bit of moolah off of it, you know?
We'll see. It's gonna take a long time to make because it's entirely dialogue dependent. So it's almost like a 3D version of a visual novel in that you have dialogue, you have sort of attributes that I'm tying, because you can set variables. So if you say like a jerk response, you get +1 jerk points and stuff like that. So.
That's pretty cool.
So like one thing I learned how to do is that, so there's a container, a bag next to the cottage, which is a free asset. Both are free assets. So you click on the bag and it says, okay, you're not strong enough to open it, right? But if you talk to people and you strong arm them and you build your strength, you can go back to the bag and open it. And in there is just, a surprise. So
can you give us a hint as to what the surprise is, considering that you haven't released it?
Well, the bag is the size of a human head. That's what it says when you pick up the bag. So it's like, oh, there might be a human head in there.
And instead, it's a newspaper.
Spoiler alert. It's head size. It's a head size full of trash. So you can build your strength, you go back to the bag, you open the bag, and you find garbage. So, yeah.
Sounds like a metaphor for life, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Chris Takahashi's Life Simulator, 2018.
So yeah, it's that kind of game.
That sounds amazing. I can't wait until you start asking your favorite voice actors to, do a little summon.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, speaking of games, a new game came out that is relatively indie, I'd say, but still has the look of the AAA.
Yeah, it was funded by, it was mainly funded via Kickstarter in terms of getting investors. So they used Kickstarter to prove that there was an audience for the game. The game that we're talking about is Kingdom Come Deliverance. We should probably talk about that first. So, it's a historically set RPG, open world, first person, lots of hacky slashy, bardy, shooty, set in, is it Bulgaria or Bohemia? Set in Bohemia.
Bohemia, yes. I think that's like Czechoslovakia or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
Czech
not sure.
Republic, I think.
Yeah.
Now,
but it's a very realistic game, I'd say.
Yeah, according to reviewers and historians who are far more versed in Bohemian history than I am, it's apparently very true to form. They apparently consulted with historians to make sure that things were as true to the setting as possible.
Yes.
Which,
like, for instance, they consulted with anthropologists to determine that humans do have feet, and your player character does have feet.
Which is automatically Game of the Year material.
Yes.
Let's face it.
Very historically accurate in that regard.
Fun fact, feet weren't invented until the 14th century.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this game being set in the 15th century, we used to just walk around on hooves. We evolved feet.
Oh.
Fun fact.
Oh. Is that why people are sometimes called sheep? Because they used to be sheep. Wake up, sheeple.
What the fuck?
And they had hooves.
What the fuck was that?
You know how people are people who like just follow and do whatever people. Yeah, they're called sheep.
I got
it.
I'm just a bit bewildered by it. Wow.
There are no sheep in this game. There are only people.
Yeah. So
But
I didn't get to play much of this game.
how did it run? I'm curious on that.
I had to turn everything down and it was still horrendous.
Oh. Yeah.
That is my first criticism of the game. I know I have a shitty computer, and I know that it was not going to run it on even medium settings. But I was on the lowest settings, and it was still very janky. So I think that says to me that it's kind of poorly optimized.
Yeah, in fairness, because it's an indie game, I don't know how like good the scripting is or how well like, you know, they know about how to optimize a game properly. Yeah. So, I mean, anytime you're dealing with a game with this small a scale, this small of a budget, or this small of a budget and this large of a scale, you're going to run into these issues, I think, because they try to make a AAA game with a limited
with an
budget,
indie game
and you
budget.
could tell sometimes. Yeah, you could tell at times that it definitely sort of kind of lands in between. But what did you think of like the game mechanics or just the game in general in terms of
I only because of the poor jankiness of it, I only managed to get a good, I think 5-6 hours in. And so
That's a lot.
I didn't really get to explore much of the game. It's a very slow slog, but I feel like the first couple of hours of gameplay and combat, it really emphasized that you're a pretty shitty peasant. You can't hold your own, you know?
You could try to help people, but it's probably going to end pretty poorly.
Yeah.
I found that it was really refreshing that there was just a lot of different options or ways that you could solve a problem.
Yeah.
And like if you're trying to collect money, you can try and beat the guy up and get the money back. But if you're like me and can't play video games, you get your ass kicked, so you have to find another way. So you could try stealing some of his items, and you can actually try ignoring him altogether and trying to earn the money another way, because the whole point is you're trying to get money to buy stuff for your dad, right? And there was another interesting thing like that I noticed. I did an early part of the quest, which was retrieving a cold beer, like right at the beginning. And by the time I brought it back, like Pops was like, no, this beer is warm. Like, I told you to get it last, but because you didn't listen, you fucked up the quest. So I thought that was really cool. Like, I assumed that the game wouldn't care when I did, you know, that particular quest.
Yeah.
But the fact that it tracked the time and it said the beer got warm because I was horsing around.
I think that's a good introduction to the
cool.
quest mechanics in general, in that if you don't complete the quest within a certain time, they'll kind of sort themselves out or resolve in a certain way without your influence.
Yeah.
Like, life goes on kind of thing. And I think that's a very good, easy way to illustrate that very early on in the game.
Yeah, and it adds more to the realism.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a theme of the whole game being realistic, being a simulation more than a game, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's like those little touches add to that, so I kind of enjoyed that.
Peasantry Simulator 2018.
Yes.
No, there was the one thing that I have seen in a lot of reviews that's been talking about it is that, ooh, it's clever Skyrim, it's history Skyrim. It's not. This is something that bugs me about game reviews in general, is that they will take something popular and the reviewers will say, oh, it's like this, but this. When the two games mechanically, visually, stylistically, story-wise, they're completely different. It's not historical Skyrim. Skyrim's historical Skyrim. Well, historically influenced Skyrim. And that's just something that's been bugging me about the reviews that I've read, is that it has a different combat system. There's a lot more weight behind the combat than there is in Skyrim, where it kind of just feels like you're flailing around a little sword, and it isn't even flailing, it's just like a feather. Like, this one, like, in terms of actual weightiness and the thought that you have to put into your combat, I'd say that it probably reminds me a bit more of chivalry, medieval warfare, because that also has a lot of emphasis on the parrying and the combat techniques and the weight behind the sword and the weapon and things. Like, you can't just hack and slash and hope that it works out kind of thing. There has to be some actual thought into it, which is why I was shit at it.
I think if it's going to be similar to a game, it's going to be more similar to Oblivion because, I mean, some of the icons kind of remind me of Oblivion. If you steal an icon
the actual
as a red
UI,
hand.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
like
This is
the
very
compass and stuff, it
Oblivion-esque.
was like, okay.
But also how you learn, like if you use a skill, I guess Skyrim has that too a little bit, where if you use a skill over and over again, it improves.
Yeah.
So like at the beginning, Henry doesn't know how to read, or he doesn't know much of anything, but you could like learn all that stuff, and that's pretty cool. Like you can learn to be charming and clever by picking the charming responses all the time, right? And as you use them, you build up, and then you could also learn new skills like learning how to read, learning how to use a weapon, learning how to do this. So it really has that RPG element of where you can build your character to be whatever you want. You know, he starts as like his empty like statue of clay, and you could just mold him. From the story wise, he does seem like to be a traditional kind of like lame protagonist, but you can totally turn him into like a clever thief if you want to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I still have like issues with some of the just some of the choices they made in terms of like saving. Like the save system sucks. It's horrible. Get a mod for it. Like it's not really a mod. You just change a couple lines of code. Well, you could change a couple lines of code and make it so you could save whenever you want. But the save system is absolutely awful. If you want to like stop the game and leave, you can't do that. You have to go to the next like story point. That's the only time you could save, right? Yeah. Or use up a save schnapps or something. You have to drink some special schnapps.
Which, no, silly.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Like, you have things to do. You need to stop playing and save. They should have done what survival mode had in Bethesda in Fallout, where you could save on exit. Like, there's just one save, and it automatically saves over that. That would prevent people from save scumming, and you'd still be able to save and leave the game whenever you want. There's also the crime system I didn't like. Like, if you steal something or like do it and nobody sees you, suddenly like everybody in the whole city knows. People like in other cities know. It was just But overall, I liked what the game offered. I think it's like a good influence because I think RPGs are like way too streamlined these days. So the realism, all the like different ways to solve a quest were pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of the first Witcher game in terms of like how it was half janky, half innovative. Yeah. So maybe like going forward, their next few games are going to be great.
If it proves to be a success, then the series could really go somewhere. Yeah.
I think it's sold over 1 million copies. So. Which,
considering that it's a relatively small scale project in terms of, you know, the AAA industry in comparison, that's nothing to scoff at. In terms of sales.
It's a lot of moolah. They might be able to buy at least a dozen fat burgers with that money.
The California fat burgers or our fat burgers?
Our fat burgers.
They'd be able to buy like one. This is
That's true.
Made with love.
The cost of development too for our fat burger. You have to go down the sewers. You have to retrieve pieces of fat, pieces of the fat burger. It takes a lot of money to build.
Exactly. Just like this game did.
Yes.
But yeah, overall, it's definitely not a bad first entry into something. I feel like it's one of those games where if it's your thing, it is your thing and you are going to love it. Yeah. If it isn't, then it's going to be very difficult to kind of force yourself into it.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a bad first entry for what could turn out to be a series. And I am interested in looking into this period of history a bit more, and I appreciate that they took a lot of elements and consulted a lot with historians on the period on making as realistic a world as possible. Yeah. That's basically my dream job.
Yeah. I think if you haven't tried it, it might be good to wait a few months to get the bugs cleared out. Also, like you probably need a decent computer, but if you do get all that sorted out, I think just the depth of like the quests and just the number of ways you can do it, the replayability, the role playing elements. If you're really into that, if you're the kind of person who complains about Fallout 4 or Skyrim being too streamlined,
give this one a shot.
Yeah, give this one a shot. Yeah,
and have a cold one, but don't get it first.
Yes, don't get it first. Listen to the details. Act like you would in real life. So if you have a cold beer, don't let it sit around. Get it to your pops before it turns warm.
Yeah. So yeah, good shot. Good shot for them.
Anything else you want to add about this game?
I need a better computer. That's
You can always play on YouTube. But a game like this can't be played on YouTube, actually. The more choices
it's so
you have...
open-ended.
Yeah. The more choices you have, the less hallway-ish the game is. Yeah, you can't play it on YouTube. What's the word I'm looking for? When a game is just, like, they have no choices, it's just...
Railroady?
Yes, there you go. The more railroad. I said a fucking hallway. God. Hallways can go in multiple directions, a railroad track cannot.
Yeah. Well, it can if you switch the gears.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways.
Yeah.
So, is that it for this episode, Lore Friendly?
Yes, I think it is, but I'm alive!
Yes, you are alive. And
yay!
Hopefully you are well.
Oh, I'm not going to be back next week.
Oh, okay.
Because it's my birthday!
Happy birthday. When is your birthday,
by the way? I'm
gonna be
23! It's on next Tuesday, but I'm back home for a bit.
So everyone wish Alice a happy birthday, and that's it for this episode.
Right. Goodbye, guys.